All right, listeners, buckle up. Today, we're heading to a city that's bursting with history, stunning architecture, and a culture all its own. We're diving deep into Hyderabad.
A city that truly feels like stepping back in time.
You got that right.
Yeah.
Especially with all the amazing material you sent over, especially that Hyderabad.pdf. This deep dive is going to be incredible. We're going to uncover the stories that shaped Hyderabad into the city it is today.
What's really captivating about Hyderabad is this incredible blend of, well, romance, resilience, and all these layers of cultural influences. It's a really unique mix.
Yeah, it really is. And speaking of romance, we have to start with the love story of Quli Qutb Shah and Bagmati. This sounds like something straight out of a Bollywood movie.
Oh, absolutely. A story that's captivated people for centuries. Quli Qutb Shah, he was the fifth ruler of the Qutb Shahi dynasty, and he completely fell head over heels for this local beauty, Kagmati. He was so smitten, in fact, he even named the city after her Bagyanagar before it was, well, renamed to Hyderabad to honor Hyder Mahal, her name after she converted to Islam.
Wow, that's incredible. It really makes you wonder how different the city might be if it had kept that original name, Pagyanagar. But beyond just the love stories, I mean, the city itself was built with a purpose, right?
Exactly. Back in 1591, Hyderabad was founded right on the banks of the Musi River. It was a strategic move to accommodate the growing population that couldn't fit within Golconda Fort, which was, the capital at the time.
Golconda Fort. Now, that's a name that just conjures up, well, it makes me think of treasures and those powerful rulers. And that's where the Qutb Shahi dynasty really comes into play, right?
They were the major players, that's for sure, ruling from Golconda Fort and bringing this distinct Persian influence to Hyderabad. We're talking culture, language, even the architecture. And here's something else that's remarkable. They had this policy of religious tolerance, which is pretty forward-thinking for that era. And it really set the stage for that diverse and inclusive character that Hyderabad still has today.
It's amazing how decisions made, centuries ago, can still shape a city's identity.
Mm.
And speaking of iconic, we can't forget the Charminar. I mean, it's practically synonymous with Hyderabad, right?
More than just a landmark, for sure. This iconic structure, it was built in 1591, the same year the city was founded. And it wasn't just to look pretty either. They built it to celebrate the end of this devastating plague. It was a symbol of resilience, the city's will to survive and thrive.
Wow, building a magnificent monument like that to mark overcoming a plague, that really says something about their outlook on life. They didn't just endure, they celebrated.
They did indeed. And this period also saw Hyderabad become a major center for diamond and pearl trading. And that early economic success, well, it kind of foreshadows the wealth and prosperity that the city would later be known for, especially during the time of Nizams.
Ah, the Nizams. That brings us to a whole other chapter of Hyderabad's story.
Yeah.
But before we get there, I'm curious about something. We've talked about the Qutb Shahi dynasty bringing in those Persian influences. But when the Mughals came into the picture in 1687, conquering Golconda and taking control of Hyderabad, did that dramatically shift the city's direction?
It definitely had an impact. Emperor Aurangzeb's annexation brought Hyderabad under, well, Mughal rule, which came with its own set of changes. However, this period, it was actually marked by a decline for the city. The Mughal administration's policies, particularly things like centralization and those heavy taxes, they took a toll on Hyderabad's economy and overall well-being.
So rather than this flourishing cultural blend, it was more like a period of hardship under Mughal rule.
It wasn't necessarily about a clash of cultures, but more about, well, those administrative policies of the Mughals. Their approach, it led to a decline in Hyderabad's fortunes, which ultimately, well, it paved the way for the rise of a new dynasty, the Asaf Jacotis.
And this is where things get really interesting. We're talking about Nizam-ul-Mulk Asaf Jah, declaring independence in 1724, establishing the Asaf Jahi dynasty. And that's when we enter the era of the Nizams, right? It's a story of rebellion and creating a new path for Hyderabad.
Absolutely. And what's really fascinating is this unique position they carved out for themselves. Hyderabad became this princely state under the British Raj. It's a concept that might seem strange today, but basically they had internal autonomy while acknowledging, British supremacy. It was like navigating this delicate balance between their own rule and that overarching British control.
Like a state within a state?
Yeah.
I bet that led to some complicated political maneuvering. And on top of that, this is when Hyderabad truly gained its reputation for opulence, right? Those legendary Nizams and their incredible wealth.
Exactly. The Nizams, especially Mir Osman Ali Khan, the seventh Nizam, were renowned for their for their wealth. He was considered one of the wealthiest men of his time. And this period, it really put Hyderabad on the map for its pearls, those palaces, and actually a surprisingly progressive approach to development.
Speaking of progressive, the Hyderabad.pdf file you provided mentions some really impressive achievements under the Nizams. I mean, founding Osmania University in 1918, establishing Osmania General Hospital and the High Court, and then those incredible reservoirs, like Osman Sagar and Himayat Sagar, built to prevent flooding. Those were some seriously forward-thinking initiatives. It's like they were laying the foundation for a modern, thriving city.
They definitely had a vision for Hyderabad's future. It wasn't just about, lavish displays of wealth. They invested in education, healthcare, infrastructure. Those reservoirs, for instance, were a testament to their understanding of urban planning and the need for sustainable solutions. Even today, as many cities grapple with water scarcity and flooding, Hyderabad benefits from those far-sighted decisions made by the Nizams.
It's a reminder that sometimes those seemingly grand gestures from the past, they can have a lasting impact on a city's present and future. But as we know, even the most powerful dynasties eventually face change. And for the Nizams, that change came with India's independence in 1947.
That's right. The Nizam initially resisted joining the newly formed Indian Union. He wanted to maintain Hyderabad's independence or even explore options like joining Pakistan. This led to this tense standoff, culminating in Operation Polo in 1948, which resulted in Hyderabad's integration into India. It was a pivotal moment in the city's history, marking the end of an era and the beginning of a new chapter. And, it's really fascinating how Hyderabad's journey it reflects India's own complex history. You see the rise and fall of these dynasties, the influences from all these different cultures, and this constant evolution of identity.
Yeah. You know what strikes me is how Hyderabad has managed to hold on to its heritage while also embracing, modernity. It's a city where you have those ancient forts and palaces standing right next to these gleaming skyscrapers, where you can smell that aroma of biryani drifting through the air while, the tech industry is humming all around you. It's a pretty unique mix.
Yeah, that juxtaposition, that's exactly what makes Hyderabad so captivating. It's a city of contrasts, always evolving, but still, deeply rooted in its past.
It makes me think about, the people who actually call Hyderabad home. What are they like? I mean, we've talked about these grand dynasties and these architectural marvels, but what about the everyday Hyderabad?
Well, the people are the heart and soul of Hyderabad, that's for sure. They're known for their warm hospitality, their love of art and culture, and that unique blend of tradition and modernity you were just talking about. They really embody the spirit of the city itself.
It's fascinating to think about how centuries of cultural exchange have shaped the Hyderabadi character.
Yeah.
You've got influences from Persia, the Mughal Empire, all those South Indian kingdoms, and of course the British Raj, all swirling together. I mean, it's a tree melting pot.
Precisely. And that fusion is reflected in everything from their cuisine and clothing to their music and language. Hyderabadi Urdu, for example, has its own distinct dialect and expressions that they add so much charm to the city's cultural landscape. It's got this wonderful blend of wit and warmth, which I think really reflects the personality of the people,
It sounds like a language you could spend hours just, listening to. So we've covered the historical journey, the architecture, this vibrant culture. But what about Hyderabad today? What are some of the challenges and opportunities facing the city, in the 21st century?
That's a really important question. As with, I guess, any rapidly growing city, Hyderabad has its share of challenges, that's for sure. Infrastructure, traffic congestion, environmental sustainability. These are all issues they're grappling with. It's a constant balancing act trying to manage this rapid urbanization while also preserving the city's heritage and its unique character.
Yeah, it's a struggle that so many cities are facing, but it sounds like it's especially complex in Hyderabad, given its rich history and that rapid pace of development. But despite these challenges, the city still seems to be thriving. I mean, it's become a magnet for talent and investment, drawing people from all over India and even the world.
Oh, it definitely has. And that influx of new perspectives and ideas brings both, challenges and opportunities. It requires really careful planning and management to ensure that growth is inclusive and benefits everyone, not just, a select few. It's about creating a sustainable future for Hyderabad while still honoring its past.
It's like walking a tightrope, isn't it? Balancing progress with preservation. Speaking of progress, we touched on Hyderabad's rise as this major IT hub. What are some of the other key sectors driving the city's economic growth?
Well, besides IT, Pharmaceuticals and biotechnology are booming in Hyderabad. The city is home to some of the leading research institutions and companies in these fields. It's really become a hub for innovation and scientific advancement.
And let's not forget Tollywood, the Telugu film industry. I've heard it's this huge economic force, not just in Hyderabad, but across all of South India.
Absolutely. Tollywood produces, hundreds of films every year, generating billions of rupees in revenue and employing thousands of people. It's this really vibrant industry that contributes so much to Hyderabad's economy and its cultural identity.
So from cutting-edge technology to the silver screen, Hyderabad seems to have it all. It's a city that's constantly in motion, navigating these complexities of growth, heritage, and identity. I love how it embraces both tradition and innovation, constantly reinventing itself while still honoring its past.
That dynamic spirit, that's precisely what makes Hyderabad so fascinating and so inspiring. It's a city that just defies easy categorization.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, from those ancient dynasties to those modern-day challenges. But let's shift gears for a moment. For those who want to experience the real Hyderabad, the soul of the city.
Yeah.
What are some of those hidden gems that often get overlooked? What stories lie beneath the surface, just waiting to be discovered?
Yeah, you've really piqued my curiosity now. I mean, when I think about hidden gems, I think about those little pockets of a city that tourists often, they miss, those places that give you a real feel for that local life. So what comes to mind? Well, one spot that often gets overlooked is the Lad Bazaar. It's tucked away near the Charminar, and it's this maze of narrow lanes just packed with shops. They sell everything you can imagine. Bangles, perfumes, traditional clothes, jewelry, it's all there. And the atmosphere, it's incredible, especially during festival.
Oh, wow. That sounds like a sensory overload.
Yeah.
In the best way possible, of course.
Yeah.
But for those of us, whose ears kind of perk up when we hear about food, where can we find those authentic Hyderabadi flavors? I mean, beyond the famous biryani, of course. Are there any places, that aren't in every guidebook?
Oh, for sure. If you really want a local culinary adventure, I'd say skip those fancy restaurants and head straight for the street food scene, like in Charminar or the Old City. That's where you'll find delicacies like halim, which is this rich stew that's especially popular during Ramadan, and khubani ka meetha, this sweet apricot dessert it's a Hyderabadi specialty.
Okay, you're making me hungry. All right, so we've got those bustling markets and the incredible food, but what about the artistic side of Hyderabad? Where can we, tap into that creative energy?
Hyderabad has this thriving arts and culture scene, that's for sure. For a taste of history and art, you absolutely can't miss the Salar Jung Museum. It houses this vast collection of art and artifacts from all over the world. I mean, everything from paintings and sculptures to manuscripts and textiles. It's a treasure trove for anyone interested in art history.
Wow, it sounds like a place you could easily get lost in for hours.
Yeah.
And for those looking for, a more contemporary experience, are there places to see live performances?
Absolutely. The Ravindra Bharathi is this fantastic cultural center, and it hosts a wide variety of performances: classical music, dance, theater, film, you name it. It's a great way to experience, that artistic pulse of the city.
So Hyderabad really seems to offer, something for every artistic taste, from the traditional to the modern. But let's say you want to escape the city's hustle and bustle for a bit. Are there any peaceful spots to kind of reconnect with nature?
Oh, for sure. Just outside the city, you'll find Hussein Sagar Lake. It's this serene oasis, perfect for, an evening stroll or just to sit and enjoy the tranquility. And for animal lovers, there's the Nehru Zoological Park. It's home to this wide variety of animals, and it's a great place to spend time with, family.
So whether you're a history buff, a foodie, an art enthusiast, or even a nature lover, Hyderabad truly does have something for everyone.
It really does. It's a city that rewards exploration. It reveals these new layers of its rich tapestry to those who take the time to look.
As we wrap up this deep dive into Hyderabad, it's clear that this city is much more than just, a destination on a map. It's an experience, a journey through time, a celebration of culture, a testament to human resilience and the power of embracing both tradition and innovation.
It's a city that really stays with you, long after you've left.
You got that right. And listeners, we've only scratched the surface here, but hopefully this deep dive has sparked your curiosity and inspired you to delve deeper into the heart of Hyderabad. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those